This is Monocle On Design Extra. It's a short show to accompany our weekly program where we discuss everything from architecture and craft to furniture and graphic design. I'm Nick Manise. Autumn in the Northern Hemisphere is a season for design conferences and fairs. Beyond showcasing physical objects or new concepts, these events put the spotlight on how products are presented, their visual identity. As such, dedicated brand building exercises and the studios specialising in it deserve consideration. Monocle's Alexei Koryalov visited POV Budapest, a new design conference in the Hungarian capital, to explore the subject.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second edition of POV Budapest.
As design conferences go, POV Budapest has set itself a bold task.
POV is putting Hungary on the map, not only spotlighting the creative community here, but bringing in global perspectives from around the world.
This year's programme ranged from physical products to artificial intelligence. But as in its first edition last year, one theme kept coming back: the power of branding and identity. POV itself is a case in point. Its founders, Matthias Zell and Boldizsár Matthias, have created a unique identity not just for the conference, but for Budapest as well. Matthias Zell.
We are in a lucky situation that Budapest and Hungary in general is still undefined. There are lots of things up in the air which people might think about, but the definition is usually made by dusty touristic campaigns. What we are trying to do is kind of have an ongoing research, and everything which we discover and pull together from our past, we try to merge into this brand or identity or the whole experience rather.
In general, why do cities and why did Budapest need this rebranding? You know, it was perfectly fine for hundreds of years, and then you come along and okay, let's make up a new identity and invite all these people here. Why?
I think we just saw that there were many stories that were unspoken and maybe more difficult to access. For us, it's obviously easier, maybe even for the average Hungarian, it's easier to access because of the language and, you follow those sources of information, but it doesn't really get into the mainstream. Pulling those threads together, emerging it, and defining this identity on the go is really opening new doors of establishing maybe even national identity on the long term.
Branding and rebranding is something cities and countries do all the time, deliberately or by chance. But recently the demand for professional placemaking and place branding has grown. Dr. Natasha Norman is co-founder and director of the Institute for Identity, or INSTID, a consultancy with offices in the UK, the US and Australia.
You can't compete globally, you can't attract talent, you can't attract investment, and you need something more than saying it's a great place to live, study, work, play, And this is where the officials struggle, and this is where the designers come in and help. So the idea of place branding today is to try and capture the vibe, the feel of a particular place, that people would say, aha, I feel seen. Now I know what to say about my place. And this is literally a quote from a project I delivered on Friday. If people don't react to this, then the project is going to be dead in the water. And a lot of place branding projects fail just because it's very, very tricky to capture the spirit of a place.
Can you maybe talk me through one of your recent projects, the one you delivered on Friday?
Yes. Yes, we had a region in North America, in Colorado, northern Colorado. Working with regions is usually considered to be most difficult because at least cities delineated. So regions are usually murky. So we had a region, and everybody in the clients said to us, it's going to be so difficult because we're so incredibly different. And indeed, you have mountains and plains, you have rocks and river, you have towns that are highbrow, academic, and you have, small industrial towns. They said, how on earth, we've struggled, how on earth can you bring this all together? So to cut it short, they were so worried about their differences that it became a strength.
In your agency, in your work, place branding and creating identity is not just about the visuals, right? So how does that manifest itself? What form does it take?
It mostly goes towards the strategy and policies. So if we are like this, for example, say we worked with a city that was very sort of engineer-minded and engineer-based, our recommendation was that guys don't try opening art galleries because there won't be many people to exhibit and many people won't go. You're an ideal place for conferences, scientific gatherings. So the understanding of how people are very often leads to better spending decisions for governments and public policy institutions, because instead of trying to be all things to all people, you can focus on what you do best and be known for it.
It isn't just places that need a revamp every now and then. Brands do too. But when does that moment come? Gareth Morgan is head of global brand design at fintech firm Revolut.
Sometimes in the industry they're called inflection points. Companies where they've got to a point where they've grown, they no longer fit that old brand style, or they've added to what they offer, or I don't know, it could be something really political. Like I've done work for companies where they've split the company and one now does a different service to the other, or mergers and acquisitions. So typically pure branding will come in at a point like that, and that's the sweet spot. That's when you've got a challenge and there's a problem or something that needs to be solved. Obviously Revolut is global, so we show up in very different markets. So when we break into new markets like India, the US, that's where it's not about rebranding, but almost like resetting and having to tell yourself, okay, we've done 10 years of branding in Europe and we've built it and we've scaled it. And you can shortcut to what you're trying to say because everyone's familiar with your brand. But when you go into a new market, what did you do then? And so we're, as a company, when we're starting to branch out into these different markets, we're taking a step back and it's like introducing ourselves almost, We're not changing anything, we're still using our brand elements, but it's very like step one.
When designers present their branding projects on conference panels, including here at POV, they often speak about going by feel or by emotion. This typeface just feels right, or that colour connects emotionally with our core audience. For Revolut, for instance, this meant moving away from playful multicolours towards a more restrained single-tone lettering, reflecting its desire to be taken seriously as a bank. But can you actually teach someone to do this? A final word to Pedro Macias, creative director at the London-based branding and design studio OMSI, who runs a workshop on branding.
It's very easy to think of design in an aesthetic sense because, of course, the output is aesthetic. But I think it's crucial to go a little bit deeper than this. So the workshop is very much about going towards the meaning or the purpose because, of course, aesthetic on its own fails in a way because ultimately it's subjective, right? All it takes is one executive saying that they don't like the color red and then it's done. I think that's the reason why for us the purpose and the meaning and understanding what feeling we want to inspire, that drives ultimately the aesthetic decisions. And then if people like it or not, it's up to them. And I think that's part of the excitement as well. I think that debate and that discussion and that difference, I think, is what makes events like this and the industry as a whole really, really exciting.
For Monocle Radio in Budapest, I'm Alexei Korolov.
And that's all for this week. If you're eager for more design stories, listen to our main programme, Monocle on Design, airing on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. London time. Or if you prefer print, then pick up a copy of Monocle magazine as well. It's on all good newsstands now. And if you enjoy print, then pick up a copy of Monocle magazine as well. It's on all good newsstands now. Today's episode was produced by Maylee Evans and edited by Steph Chungu. I'm Nick Manise. Thanks for listening.